I never thought I would be involved in a lawsuit like this. I knew of them because I was in the pharmaceutical industry, but I never really saw myself as in that particular circumstance.
In 2011, former Novartis sales manager David Kester filed a whistleblower complaint alleging the pharmaceutical company engaged in a massive kickback scheme to unlawfully induce specialty pharmacies to increase sales of 5 of its patented drugs, even as patients reported serious side effects from the drugs. David had been an employee at Novartis for 7 years.
All these years, I enjoyed calling on these doctors, helping these patients have difficult conditions, because I thought I was doing a teeny bit, but the benefits some of my products offer them maybe could help them help these patients better. What was hitting me is that I was aware of something that maybe was not helping these patients, but if I didn't go forward with it, it would continue to happen for years. If I had left the company and just said, well, I don't like what they're doing, and left, this would have still have been occurring, would be occurring right now.
David had been marketing a cystic fibrosis drug to clinics and physicians when he noticed an unusual surge in refill compliance levels by patients at specialty pharmacies that was not reflected elsewhere.
If there was a kickback involved and the decision was being made whether to take the drug for the next cycle or not, the pharmacist might not be giving good advice. And they might overlook something like a doctor would want to see. But I knew I was over my head with trying to make a determination, so pretty much I was going with what the compliance rules were at the company. And the company said you don't cross that line. You don't offer any type of inducement, that anything could be considered an inducement for anything clinical. I knew how difficult it was for these patients. If you ever heard CF patients talk, do testimonials about their lives, somebody has to stand up for them. If I was single, it'd been easy enough to do. It's because it's just me. But when you have a wife and 3 kids that are dependent upon you, it's a very difficult decision. If I was sued or if I had lost my job, it would have affected them. And then that's when I figured I needed to find someone that understood these laws better than me. And I started looking for a law firm that specializes in qui tam.
David's research on qui tam lawsuits and on law firms that were successful in prosecuting them led him to Vogel, Slade, and Goldstein.
There are actually studies out that talk about qui tams and the different firms that do it. Vogel, Slade, and Goldstein actually has a very high government intervention rate, and you need a strong legal team. With Vogel, Slade, and Goldstein, I definitely had that, and Shelley Slade definitely stood up for me.
The first thing we did, of course, was analyze the evidence and the legal theory, make sure we were on solid ground in terms of the law. And once we had done that, our next step was to decide where to file the case, in which judicial district that would be particularly adept at being able to understand our legal theory. So we wanted a very experienced U.S. Attorney's Office and one that was willing to break new grounds. And we ended up choosing the Southern District of New York. And that, in retrospect, was probably one of the more important decisions we made in the case.
At the start of the case, the federal government and 10 states joined David's claims that Novartis paid kickbacks to the specialty pharmacy BioScrip to push refills of the expensive blood cancer drug Exjade, but did not join his claims that Novartis paid kickbacks to 2 other pharmacies to get them to ramp up Exjade sales. David's legal team took these claims forward on their own and ultimately succeeded in persuading the government to join them.
So we worked alongside the government with regard to the claims in which they intervened, but then we also pushed forward on the declined claims. We eventually were able to build up enough evidence regarding some of those claims that the government intervened late in the case. And it did increase the size of the ultimate recovery very significantly. The pharmaceutical company Novartis had 3 separate law firms, huge big law firms, and the 3 pharmacy defendants each had their own law firm. So we had 6 law firms to deal with.
Every time they put up these very complex arguments, we seemed to be able to overcome them almost in their entirety, every time.
By 2015, Novartis and 2 pharmacies settled, resulting in the largest recovery to the government ever in a False Claims Act lawsuit that was based solely on a kickback theory. The settlement yielded a total gross recovery of $465 million for U.S. taxpayers.
What pleased me perhaps the most about this case is that we were able to achieve a nice Relator Share award for David, somebody who had stood up for what was right in a very courageous fashion, sacrificed his job and probably his career, but did it for what he felt were the best interests of patients.
What drove me was the patients. It looked to me like it was my time to stand up for these patients. So I'm most proud of that.